Blown out by a franchise record 40 in Game 5. They never trailed in Game 6 unless the Rockets have forced a Game 7 in Los Angeles. Hey, how are you folks? Jason Horowitz. Glad to be with you here on CBSSports.com with your preview of Game 7 between the Rockets and Lakers Sunday afternoon at 3:30. Winner to move on to the Western Conference Finals to meet the Nuggets. Let's bring in our CBSSports.com NBA columnist Ken Berger. And Ken, it's been a really funny series, but you still don't get the feeling that anyone believes outside of that Rockets locker room that Houston's going to go into Los Angeles and win this series. But if you look at the 3 games they played without Yao Ming, they've won 2 of them, Games 4 and 6, blown out in Game 5. What has been the difference in those 2 wins that they have to do in Game 7?
Well, and first of all, apparently the Lakers are included in that group that didn't give them much of a chance. They really seem kind of shell-shocked, even though Kobe was putting on a brave face after the game, and saying this is what we do. They've got to be a little bit shaken by this. But I mean, the key that has been the one constant in the last 3 games of this series. There's been no Yao. Everyone, including myself, thought, well, this series is over. But really, what Houston has done, I mean, they're so well coached. They play so smart, and not having Yao allows them to play a little bit more unselfishly. They don't have to force the ball into the post. They can kind of let things come to them. They can take advantage of some of their athleticism and Louis Scola's gifts on the low post. He's really an underrated post player, and they have Landry coming off the bench. So they don't rely on one guy or one recipe at the offensive end, and they're pretty rugged defensively too, as they've shown. So Aaron also has been a huge key for them in the games without Yao. It's really allowed him to blossom and kind of show what he can do, getting to the paint, distributing the ball, and more importantly, scoring it.
Yeah, the numbers in the wins versus the losses for Aaron Brooks have been startling. But, Ken, you talk about the fact that there hasn't been Yao, and there's not going to be Yao in Game 7 either. But the Lakers have not dominated the paint. Why haven't they been able to do that when they have the clear, monumental size advantage?
Well, they do have a size advantage, but what they don't have is Louis Scola. And a lot of people have really underestimated him, and we forget that he was, 2 years ago, he was the MVP of the Tournament of the Americas, in a tournament in which the Americans won every game by almost 40 points and won the gold medal. Argentina took the silver, but Scola was so dominant in that tournament that he just really opened a lot of people's eyes. He's been really under the radar on that Rockets team. At the beginning of the year, it was all about the big 3, the stars, Yao, McGrady, and Artest. Now they're just the one spoke of the big 3 star there, and in Artest, and it's given Scola a chance to really take on more of a load and really get noticed. And I think he is, the Lakers should have known this, and I believe they did, that given a chance, Scola is really one of the more effective post players in the league at both ends of the floor.
And Ken, Louis Scola and Carl Landry were fantastic out of the power forward position in Game 6. What adjustments do the Lakers have to make sure that doesn't happen in Game 7?
Well, they need more from Bynum. Bynum gave him a good game in Game 5, gave him nothing in Game 6, and they're going to need that. And that's been the theme with this Lakers team all along, all through the playoffs. There was a feeling that maybe they could coast back to the finals, even if Andrew wasn't okay and wasn't dominant and wasn't giving them what they needed in the post. But Pau Gasol is a very nice player, and one of the best power forwards in the league. But he's not a guy that you're going to rely on for post defense, and he's not a guy who intimidates anybody around the basket. Bynum is that guy for them. And they really need that.
Obviously there's one thing we haven't talked about yet, and it's the elephant in the corner. It's the thing everybody knows about. This is a Game 7, and it features Kobe Bryant. Are you expecting him to have a monumental performance and put this team and this series in his own hands?
I would, absolutely, with a big caveat. When Kobe is most effective, he is penetrating and getting the basket in addition to, his fadeaways and his step backs and his pull-up jumpers and things of that sort. He needed a lot of shots to score the points that he scored in Game 6. And it's because for most of this series, even without Yao in the paint, Kobe has really not had the lanes to the basket that he really wants to find. Those are the games that he's most effective. Those are the games when he takes his team on his back and leads them. And, you know, Houston is so sound defensively. They don't make mistakes. They don't, you know, overhelp. They don't recover slowly. They do everything right defensively. And that's a challenge for Kobe because if he forces it, he maybe gets into foul trouble. He maybe gets frustrated. If he doesn't force it, who is going to knock down the shots when he passes the double teams when the Lakers seal off the lane? I mean, the Rockets seal off the lane. So it's a huge dilemma for Kobe. I would expect him to you know, give it his best, but you know, it's a tall task to go into the lane defending the paint right now.
Yeah, and you never know when it comes down to one game. Maybe he gets into foul trouble. Maybe he lands funny. You never know when it comes down to one game. Ken, pick your winner. One game, Rockets, Lakers.
You know, I'm still going to stick with the Lakers. I'll be willing to accept all ridicule if Houston wins this series because I certainly won't be alone. So I'll take that. I'll take that chance and say that the Lakers will kind of get themselves together and figure this out in Game 7.
All right, Ken Berger, thank you very much. You'll be in Boston for Game 7 of the Magic and Celtics, and for a preview of that, be sure to check that out on the website as well. Ken, thank you very much, sir.
All right, Jason.
All right, folks, for more on the NBA and the Game 7s on Sunday, be sure to stay with CBSSports.com. For Ken Berger, I'm Jason Horowitz. Take care, folks.